Hello, everyone. Welcome to Parallel Barking. I'm Ariana Backer, joined with my co-host Larry Backer.
Woof woof.
Bark, bark. I must say, your hair looks fabulous today.
Amazing, huh?
Those curls are they're just doing it.
Well, we'll just have to thank my parents
Yeah, I
for
think.
the genetic, whatever it is.
But anyway, that has nothing to do with today's
That has
subject.
everything to do with today's subject.
It could very well have everything to do with today's subject, which is Elon Musk, Elon Musk, Elon Musk, 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 Musk.
Well,
And
I think we're done.
yeah, and there we go.
All right. So what is it that you want to talk about this poor man?
This poor man, poor man, nothing. I actually had never really taken the time to read any of his tweets, although I had heard that they were outlandish. But let
Okay.
me give you an example of one.
So why are you reading his tweets?
Oh, because I was in preparation for this podcast. I wanted to, you
Okay.
know,
So this is Elon Musk performing for his public.
absolutely. He
Okay.
must,
Are you his public?
aren't we all?
I'm not.
Oh, are you closing your eyes, ears, other senses to
No, I'm
his
valuing my
existence?
time. I'm valuing my time as a function of the
Well,
things that I can do.
obviously not that much because we are taking the time to talk about him.
Well, but there you go. That was your choice.
Well,
All right.
along
Anyway,
with
so tell us about these tweets.
thousands of others. Okay, first one that caught my attention was try voice command open butthole on your Tesla.
I don't get it.
I don't know, but I'm supposing that those with Teslas will get it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so he's just annoyed that people don't understand how to drive a Tesla.
Or I'm
Well, okay.
assuming
The
that
man is
something
impatient.
kitschy happens when you say
Well,
open butthole in your Tesla.
I suppose, but you and I will certainly not know. All right. So he's impatient. All right. So what other tweets we have?
I love
He's
I love
neither
your
the first, he's
interpretation.
neither the first nor the last person to be impatient. But people get off on it. You know why? Because he's got what a zillion, million, cajillion dollars. And that makes his impatience much more deliciously interesting than mine because I lack the zillion, cajillion dollars. But anyway, all right. So what's the
Honestly, why I really wanted to talk about Elon Musk is because of his outspoken
yeah.
um support for free speech. And I
Okay.
thought that was one of the reasons or the reason for trying to wanting to acquire Twitter.
It could be. It could be ego. It could be he was
All of the
annoyed.
above,
Yeah.
right?
So what? He's neither the first nor last person to act on all kinds of motives, some good, some base.
So,
But it annoys you because you figure with all that money, he should act more like a saint than a sinner or, God forbid, a flawed human being.
well, it would be nice.
Why?
Why not?
Well, money does not transform one, it just augments whatever tendencies one has. And assuming he's still human, it means that he will display whatever human characteristics he has, but now augmented by his many billions of dollars, which makes him more interesting, of course, and much more public. And but it's somewhat odd to be judgmental when everyone else is kind of like a little mini Elon. It's just that your ability to influence the metaverse is that much smaller because you lack the quadrillion million trillion dollars that he has, and therefore the access to all of the twittering gobs of sycophantic people in the Twitterverse. We're going to get
Well,
to Twitter
I
and
do
in the
get a
press.
kick out of watching the struggle of not wanting to acquire Twitter after realizing, oh
Ah, so
shit,
that's where we were,
the
that's where we're
the
getting.
the value is no longer what I purchased it for, so I no longer want it. So let's make up all these reasons that it is not worth it.
Well, no, that's silly. Um, Here's my take. The man was annoyed with Twitter because Twitter was run by someone. You were talking about the nether regions of the digestive tract. He was annoyed that someone who, in his mind, resembled the lower regions of the digestive tract was actually using Twitter as a kind of left fascist organ for injecting themselves into the political and social organs. And it annoyed him because he disagreed with this person's views. And then he decided that he was going to destroy it. And he did that in the most interesting way possible. First, by creating a sense of the difficulties of Twitter, although Twitter had already stumbled badly on its own hypocrisy. Um, and its own blatant non-neutrality. And then he decided to be quite strategically a morally business-like about destroying Twitter, which he hasn't
Tell me
done.
how it's destroyed, please.
Well, but he hasn't. He hasn't. He weakened it. He weakened its moral position, and he put it in play. He got rid of some of the people who had been running the enterprise in a particular way. And now he's decided, well, he's looked at this and like someone who's done, he says, oh, my work here is done, and he's going to go away. Or at least he's going to hire enough lawyers to see if it is possible for him to walk away. And he may not be able to walk away. We'll see.
I mean, yeah, I just think that's funny. You think you're just playing a game.
He is playing a game. These are businesses, and he's got the money to do it. You and I play games by deciding whether or not we're going to buy heritage eggs at the fancy store. He does it by
Yeah,
deciding
I mean,
whether he's
and
going to buy
you're saying
Twitter
it like
or
it's completely acceptable.
no, I'm saying it like it is completely unremarkable. That's very different. We aren't having the conversation whether it's acceptable or not. We're having the conversation about whether it's remarkable. And given the amount of money that he deals with in his mind, and given the size and scope of his quote unquote toys, it is not remarkable. And in fact, I'm surprised that anyone is surprised about this. He's had his way with Twitter. He's tired of it. He's moved on to something else. And now he's going to be playing with these folks. For all we know, there's all kinds of other reasons for doing this. One of them would be to substantially renegotiate the purchase price. Another one would be to continue to weaken Twitter by distracting its board of directors and having to deal with this stuff. Another is that he's just a goofy sort of guy who decided that he doesn't want to buy it, and he figures his lawyers can somehow get him out of it. Or there may actually be substance to what he said, which was when he asked for a bunch of information to do his due diligence, he didn't get it to his satisfaction. And that's where I think the lawyers are going to be feeding at the trough for a while.
Yeah, I think that will be really interesting.
Right. Now, in the meantime, what I find really interesting is the way in which the people who he in whose glory or condemnation he basks on Twitter and whatever other social media devices he uses, how quickly they forget that but for him, to some significant extent, when the Americans had turned their backs on the Ukrainians, when the Europeans, although they remain somewhat diffident about protecting them, when all seemed lost, it was him who decided to go and provide the as a private.
Oh no, 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 no. No, no, no. Just because you do something good
Yeah.
does not preclude you from criticism.
No,
So
no,
sorry.
I'm not suggesting that at all. But I am suggesting that, in fact, if you're going to make judgments based on putting on the scales of good and evil, what this man has been doing, then one can't merely obsess about the critical stuff.
I mean,
One has to take a more balanced view. But of course, that's something that's lost on this age.
I
No
mean,
one does this anymore.
I don't know if good and evil.
Not good and evil, on the way in which one views something as positive or one judges something as negative. We don't have to put morality, either your personal one or whichever one you're buying off the shelf, because it suits you. We don't have to do that, but we can do it on your own scale, your own personal scale of good and not good,
I
or
mean,
bad and not bad, however you want to do this. Right, but you find you're offended by
no, I'm
his
not.
actions
I
with
said I
Twitter.
was. How did you read that? I said I was entertained. I find it interesting.
Oh, I'm entertained too. I can't wait to see how this ends. It beats some of the horrible TV programming that we get on cable. So, you know, there you go.
Well, and of course, you know that if you write specific things on Twitter, you are trying to elicit a specific reaction. So I think in some ways he's trying to get certain reactions out of his audience. So it's
Maybe.
not like he's trying to stay.
Yeah, maybe. Now, you're making a supposition, aren't you?
Absolutely, but that's
You
what
know
this
what the
podcast is
supposition is?
for.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what the supposition you're making is? Now we're in the woof, woof, bark, bark. And now you understand why these are parallel barkings. Why is it that you assume that he's writing his own tweets? Is he Mr. Trump? We don't know. Is he writing his own tweets? Does he have a focus group of people who are writing them? Does he have an office floor full of people whose job it is to write them? Does he just review them and tweak them before he tweets them? I have no idea. Do you? Do you know if they're part of some kind of business plan? Is he weaponizing Twitter against Twitter, which I think would be hysterical, by tweeting?
Well, I mean, he did this even before he was thinking of
Right,
this
but
whole plan with
a
Twitter.
lot of people now perform publicly in very strategic ways. It's not just the actors who have their publicists strategically insert themselves into the public eye in order to acquire for their clients some managed narrative. I mean, everyone is now in the business of managing their own narrative, whether it's for ego, whether they're out of control, whether they're in control. I mean, we just don't know anymore. There's something very studied about this, even when it's creating a space for crazy talk. And so for people to take anything that comes out of any of these organs at face value is to suggest that that person actually becomes the butt of the great cosmic joke, which is social media. I mean, the whole point of this is you mock yourself by actually taking this stuff seriously. You have to listen to it as data points that are more emotive than they are something that you read the way you'd read Aristotle. And then you, in a sense, in a world in which tweets are like a dime a dozen, you have to read them in large batches,
But that's what I'm saying.
quantify them and see what kind of trajectories
They're meant
or
to
what you can
elicit
derive
some
from
sort of
them.
emotion.
Well, or some kind of plan. So over the course of 6 months, on a series of carefully designed and vetted tweets that are meant to manipulate emotion, right? And especially if they also include images or whatever, there may be an object that ultimately becomes discernible, not in the language of each tweet, but in the trajectory of the tweets. And what one can discern is the strategic objective for each of those tweets to get
I mean,
the
you're just talking about a marketing campaign right now,
no, I'm talking about psychology. I'm talking about
which
managing.
includes, I mean, which is included in a marketing campaign. You need that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in its economic, in one part of its economic um characteristic or lens, yeah, that's exactly what it is. He may be testing the market. For all we know, we've all become a large focus group for Elon Musk. So if he drops, I mean, the politicians would do this all the time. What is it called? Raising a trial balloon. You have some flunky somewhere say something, and then you wait to see whether the public hates it or not. If they hate it, then you can blame
Well,
the
I kind of
flunky.
argue that that is really what Twitter is. It's like a barometer of what you're saying, how your
Not
audience
Joe.
is feeling.
Yes, but not in the context of Joe and Mary Smith. Here you're not talking about Joe and Mary Smith are producing data that is reactive data that can then be um, um, harvested
Hmm.
and analyzed.
Hmm.
Musk is not producing data that can be harvested. He is shepherding data. He is provoking it to come in so that he can gauge a reaction and then act accordingly.
I would say that he's also producing data.
Yes, yes. Everyone is producing data. We're producing data with every word we say, with every minute we stay on this thing. Everyone is a data producer and also data consumer. But in this case, I think that one can argue that there may be a fundamental difference in terms of the overarching character of participation in things like Twitter between those who, at the head of a large apparatus, instrumentalize Twitter in order to harvest reactions to what they're saying because they're big enough to attract reactions that are useful,
Hmm.
as opposed to the much larger group of people like you and me, whose sole purpose is to be drained of our reactions by these others. Assuming that
Hey,
we
I don't
spend,
know how many followers you have,
no,
but
no,
I might
well,
be a nano celebrity.
well, yes, Nano. We'll change the name of this is Parallel Nanos, and but you see my point. Yeah,
Yes.
hopefully, and so one of the things that people, one of the most interesting things about social media is the way people seem to take it at face value, and they become willing um, for what it is, that people are actually saying what they mean, that there's nothing behind it, there's no structure, or there's no instrumentalization, there's nothing other than intercourse, that is communicative intercourse. And that's not the case.
Yeah, but you're also making a grand supposition that there, like Elon has this master plan and he's
No,
planned
I'm
it for.
suggesting, agreed. I'm suggesting that I'm supposing that's one of the alternatives. It may be that the man is completely out of control and that he sneaks these tweets like Mr. Trump used to, supposedly, according to some of the reports, that he sneaks these tweets the way other people sneak donuts or cigarettes.
Yeah, I was gonna say like hamburgers.
No, we're not going there. But we don't know. We don't know. And so what we're doing is guessing. And since these high level narrative shepherds invite us to guess, well, we've just taken them up on their invitation. But that's what makes them a fascinating figure. And in that context, he's no different than the Kardashians. He's no different than Twitter or TikTok influencers. He's just bigger and badder. But there's a whole class of people who now do this. On the other hand, what makes this very interesting is that in this country, given our ideologies, there's a bit of that what in other systems would have been centralized and controlled very strictly by the state or by a centralizing organ here is much less so, and it's controlled by other things. We listen to Mr. Musk because he's got 40 cajillion million trillion dollars. We listen to the metaverse because he's got a cajillion million quadrillion dollars. We listen to famous artists because they're famous and they're artists. And that's a very different system from one in which a vanguard will centralize the control of all of this stuff within their version of the Twitterverse or the metaverse or some kind of verse. Certainly not a free verse.
Well, yeah, this is the free movement of information.
Right. And then it gets all gossipy. I was amused for the 4 minutes that the Wall Street Journal decided to pretend to be a 15-year-old high school person and start tittering the supposed, and who knows, maybe it was or wasn't. I mean, I could care less, but the press organs cared for at least a nanosecond whether he was having some kind of intimate and extra legal relationship with the wife or the former wife or the estranged wife of, I guess, one of the higher ups, Mr. Brin, I think, one of the higher ups in Google.
Oh, yes, I've heard that.
Which was a welcome relief from the endless, and now utterly pathetically mundane bleating about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their travails. So,
although I have actually stayed out of that and have no idea what's going on.
With them, well, you're better for it.
I agree.
All right. So what else is making you crazy about Mr. Musk?
Oh, nothing is making me crazy. I just I noticed.
So you're going to go off and buy a Tesla?
I honestly want an electric vehicle like nobody's business. My only worry is the dearth of charging stations. So we don't really have the infrastructure to support electric vehicles right now. The state that has the most available, of course, is California. I mean, per capita. And even if
you can move to Denmark and buy a Tesla.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Maybe. Maybe. But yeah, no. So, but Mr. Musk is of a type, and is a very interesting one, as is Mr. Metaverse.
Yes, but this podcast is not about him. I do appreciate Musk's innovation and all of his aggressive ability to manage many projects, I guess.
And sometimes well, and sometimes really badly.
Yeah.
But that would be a great way to end this, I guess. I know that we don't want to overplay
exactly
the Musk hand, but one of the most interesting parts of all of this discussion, for me anyway, is the way in which we now tend to look at entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs like Mr. Musk, from a very bureaucratic and administrative perspective. That is, we tend to fault them or judge them by their ability to identify, prevent, or mitigate risk, when in fact the brilliance of Mr. Musk is precisely his risk-loving nature.
He's willing you do not want to take that away.
Risk. But that's why he's become a problematic figure in the 21st century, because the narrative now is not of the business person or the person in markets willing to take the risk, to do the experiment, to come up with something new and interesting, to be a visionary, because we view that from the perspective of technocratic administrator bureaucrats as something that is horrifying.
And
Our,
it's sad. You're absolutely right. We need to
our,
encourage more entrepreneurs. And what needs to happen
but we
is,
need to encourage risk. That's
well,
the
yes,
thing. We
entrepreneurs
love
should take
entrepreneurs.
the risk and then surround themselves with
Right.
others that have the skill to support.
And at the same time, accept the consequences of a risk that goes bad.
Exactly.
But we live increasingly in a society that does not tolerate risk. And it's clear that the state and its bureaucracy ought to embrace a principle of prevention, mitigation, and remedy. They ought to be very risk averse because their job is not to take risks and be innovative. On the other hand, the markets, economics, and even society, the arts, ought to be spaces where risk is encouraged, not because every risk you take will succeed, but precisely for the opposite reason, because not every risk you take will succeed. And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, because the one that does succeed
will succeed well, and the ones that don't are equally instructive. But we are as a society losing our ability to take risks. And actually, one of the most interesting perspectives on this came from China. The September 2020 speech by the soon-to-be former head of Ant Group, Jack Ma, who also saw it from a very different perspective, this extraordinary trajectory, and it's very fast. It's occurred in less than a generation of effectively generalizing this bureaucratic narrative on all aspects of social organization and social behavior. And to his credit, Mr. Musk continues to raise his middle finger in that direction. He can do it because he's got a cajillion, million, quadrillion dollars.
Yes.
But he need not have. He could sit on his yacht like a Russian billionaire and avoid.
Yeah, that's the only thing. He has the privilege to be able to do that. He has the ability to do that.
But he's done it. And so, given that he's got it,
he's given the way. Yeah, he's broken.
No, he's done it instead of not doing it.
Instead of not doing that. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I do appreciate him. He's a good example, and I hope more follow in his footsteps, and he keeps on going. Right,
but we should be equally free to criticize when we think he's gone the wrong way. But that's I think the better way to deal with this than one in which we kind of, I hate this expression, but I'm going to use it anyway, where we're taught to clutch our pearls every time someone takes a risk and it goes bad.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell the difference between fake pearls and real pearls now. So you have to clutch something else. I don't know. My fanny pack or something. Whatever, we'll think of something. Well, anyway, that's all I got to say.
On that note, let's say another day. We'll see you all. Talk to you all. Thanks for joining.
Woof, woof.
Bark, bark.